I will sit here and raise my hands and cheer because I was probably the only Jet guy that picked the Jets to beat the Buffalo Bills last week. For all the people taking shots at Zach Wilson, looked like a self-proclaimed high school football player. He changed everybody's mind after going into MetLife Stadium and knocking off Josh Allen and that great Buffalo Bills defense. But not only that, they lost Breece Hall. James Robinson was traded for. The Jets gave up a 6th-round draft pick for him. It took him a week to figure out the offense against New England. And then against Buffalo, he started to find a burst. And so did Michael Carter. And you saw this offensive line dig in deep and showed everybody, even with a glued offensive line, Dwayne Brown, he was supposed to be a starting left tackle. He was hurt in the beginning of the season. George Font moved to the left tackle position. He gets hurt. Then you move Elijah Vera Tucker to the right tackle position. Dwayne Brown comes back. You had Max Mitchell. He was the right tackle. Then he gets hurt. Herbig, starting left guard. You look at this team. This team was glued together on the offensive line, but so much depth. When was the last time you've seen the New York Jets have so much depth? And their defense is playing at a high form. And when you look at Quinn Williams, and ever since that Bengals game, and him screaming at the defensive line coach, saying that we don't need to rush 6, we can rush 4 and still dominate. And this is the same Quinn Williams that Ulbrich was only starting 60% of the snaps in the beginning of the season. And as soon as he had that outburst, he moved him, did things with Quinn Williams that we haven't seen since he's come into the NFL, playing almost 82.5 snaps for the New York Jets. And this defense is completely different with Carl Lawson, Jermaine Johnson, who's been out now. You saw what he did against Josh Allen in the fourth quarter, rushing him and using his speed. This team has it all. 3 shutdown corners. Sauce Gardner, who leads the league in PFF. DJ Reed, who is 5th in PFF. Then you have Michael Carter, the second, who is 15th in PFF. This team has 3 predominant great corners on their team. Their safeties are playing very good too. Whitehead, Joyner. This is a great secondary. And when everything is working on all cylinders, you see the dominance of what this defense could be. And Zach Wilson does not need to be that superstar quarterback right now. Next year he might be. All the talent that they have coming back next year, I expect the Jets to be even more talented than they were this year. But all they need to do is get Zach Wilson to throw 25, 30 throws a game, between 65 and 70% completion percentage. If he does that, the Jets win. Least amount of mistakes. This team can compete against anybody. They can run the ball, dominate the line of scrimmage. They've done everything what you expect a good team to do against a very good team. Knocking off the Buffalo Bills, this was a statement game. Now you got to go into New England and shut down the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick after they embarrassed you in your own stadium at MetLife.
Established the line of scrimmage very well against the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo's, both their fronts have been very good so far this season, and the Jets patching together that offensive line beat the Buffalo Bills inside. Von Miller had 1 sack in the second quarter, but in the second half, the Jets did a great job containing him. And on their defensive line, you mentioned Quinn Williams, but they got consistent interior pressure and made Josh Allen make a lot of the mistakes he made in his second year in the league when he was taking 10-plus yard sacks and forcing bad throws. If the Jets can win the line of scrimmage like that, it's going to be very easy for the rest of their defense to be as creative as they're capable of, and the offense to be as creative as they want to be in a Kyle Shanahan system. And Mike LaFleur, you saw him at least do concepts that are the opposite of what you would expect. Michael Carter was running up the middle, which is not his strength. James Robinson was being used as a receiving back, which is not normally his strength. And that threw off a team like the Buffalo Bills. I think the Jets, on all levels, outcoached the Buffalo Bills. As far as a long-term trajectory, this is a championship caliber defense. If they can get some level of a consistent passing game in the playoffs, they could be dangerous.
In the fourth quarter, 6.5 minutes left of the game, the Jets had the ball. They ran the ball down their throats. And nobody would have thought that the Jets were going to do that against a great defense like that. And they started on their own 10-yard line. And they ran it down the seam the whole time, all the way down to the Buffalo Bills 5-yard line. What you want to see with the Jets want to be a ground and pound team. This is where they can dominate the line of scrimmage. And with an offensive line that strong, and with a defensive line playing the way they are, and the great secondary the Jets have, they can compete against anybody. I believe Zach Wilson is more than good enough to take this team all the way where they want to be this year, and that's the playoffs. Are they winning the Super Bowl this year? I don't think so, but I've seen crazier things. But if they have a defense this good and they can stay semi-healthy, and they have a healthy Quentin Williams and Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, CJ Mosley has been fantastic. Kawan Alexander, Quincy Williams, everybody's played great football for this New York Jets team. 6-3 going into the bye week. We haven't seen a 6-3 season for the New York Jets going to their bye week, I don't remember, 10, 15 years ago. It's incredible. You should be excited if you're a New York Jet fan. Zach Wilson, I believe, is the guy. Just let the kid figure things out. Stop booing him. Even when he was bad the week before against the New England Patriots, and he threw 3 interceptions, he forced the ball. If he doesn't force the ball, he doesn't throw on his back foot, this kid could do everything a top quarterback can do. He can step into the pocket. He's one of the best scramblers in the league. He can run. He can do everything Justin Fields is doing. Not as fast, but he can still run and still do the things as an athletic quarterback can do in this league.
This is a Jets team that mirrors a lot of the 2012 Seahawks, where they have the defense very much in place, very well rounded. And Marshawn Lynch was the core guy there, and they had a decent O-line, kind of like what the Jets have. But the passing game was still missing. You had a young quarterback like the Seahawks had with Russell Wilson at the time, and a receiving core that was young and growing. Who says the Jets can't even just make that statement if they win a playoff game?
Think
Jets
about how much depth the Jets have on that offensive line. Max Mitchell and George Font coming back. A tackle that could have made the Pro Bowl last year to the right tackle position. And Max Mitchell, their rookie, who was playing fantastic before he got hurt. And shout out to Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. They have done everything they expected to do. Even when I attacked Robert Saleh a couple of weeks ago with I'm taking receipts, I take back everything I said about this guy. This guy is proven that he can coach in this league. This is a guy that has proven that he can lead a team all the way to the promised land, something that the Jets haven't done in 50 years. So I am very excited. If you're a Jet fan, you should be excited. And next year, they're going to be even more talented because they have Breece Hall coming back, Elijah Vera Tucker, Mekhi Beckham. Who are they losing in the offseason? George Font, maybe Corey Davis. They might do something with Mosley's contract. They bring him back. He's definitely the leader of that defense. This team has a lot of youth and a lot of talent. You have to get rid of some of the young talent like Elijah Moore, who doesn't stop opening his mouth. But Garrett Wilson's a star, 8 catches, 92 yards against a great secondary. Everything that we saw this past week could show you that this team is on its way to be a contender. So very exciting if you're a New York Jet fan. As far as this lawsuit is concerned, and I know a lot of people are wondering what's going to happen to Roger Goodell and what's going to happen to Dan Snyder. I have believed this to happen for a very long time. This story really rests on Roger Goodell, not Dan Snyder, because Dan Snyder should have been pushed out a long time ago. The fact that Roger Goodell has been hiding things, protecting Dan Snyder as long as he has, if this story starts to reach a major lawsuit by the Attorney General, the NFL and the owners have to look at Roger Goodell, and this could absolutely shoot him in the foot in Roger Goodell, and he could be on his way out. I don't know why this guy still has a job after the CTE story. Players and their lives are at risk, not protecting the players in their best needs and their best interests. They have families, they have lives after the game of football. It was all about money. It was all about the $1 billion they were getting from endorsements. They never acknowledged the players after they retired with all the injuries that they have. The players union won them $100 million. What's $100 million doing for thousands and thousands of players? Roger Goodell didn't do the right thing, and now they're figuring out even more that this guy is an evil man. If he does get sued and the NFL gets sued for whatever the Attorney General wants to attack him with, I think he should be fired.
Absolutely. He's protecting a guy that has had a flurry of issues. The cheerleading incident, all the players that have had injuries, that field being just a mess. Doctors misdiagnosing a Trent Williams cancer treatment in 2019. And Roger Goodell is just going to protect him. Why? Because Dan Snyder is one of the richest owners and makes a lot of money. The owner union is tight, whatever, but that doesn't mean you have to protect somebody that's doing corrupt things. This guy has been stashing money from season ticket holders, pocketing it for himself. Meanwhile, that could be used to help those players out. Get a renovation on that.
Help the poor. How's that?
Yeah. And there are owners that do that. Not Dan Snyder. He just wants to pocket it for himself. And there's going to be a lot more stemming from this because they brought the Attorney General in, and don't be surprised if it expands further to some agencies as
Once
well.
you get politicians involved with this, it all starts to hit the fan. We've seen this with baseball, with the steroid situation and Bud Selig. You had the House of Representatives, and all these players had to stand in front of the Congress. I cannot see this going well for Roger Goodell. We know what Dan Snyder is. He doesn't belong as an owner in the NFL. But Roger Goodell, everybody's been protecting this guy, and this guy has been protected by the owners. How could the owners protect this guy right now from a bad, evil man like Dan Snyder? And if he does get sued and the NFL gets sued by the Attorney General and they find out that Roger Goodell had anything to do with it, he should be fired from his position. I don't care how much money he's brought in for these owners and for these players. This man is an evil man. We've seen what he did with CTE. He did nothing to protect the players. Try to ruin a doctor's image. his whole career because he was coming out and trying to protect the players. He is a despicable man, and the NFL will investigate this story away from Roger Goodell, who right now is the commissioner of football, but maybe not for long.
Hopefully.
And now our 3-for-all picks of the week as I am up 3.
All right, we'll start this week with the Dallas Cowboys at the Green Bay Packers. The over-under for this game is 44. I'm actually going to take the Packers here. Ezekiel Elliott hurt and Tony Pollard step up well, but can it happen in a second time in a row? I don't know about that. Bye-week momentum, the Cowboys riding high. I think that'll hurt them a little bit. And the Packers, I don't know if they're this bad forever. Last week is a wake-up call for Aaron Rodgers. I also like the matchup Jair Alexander to contain CeeDee Lamb, and the other receivers really haven't gotten involved. Aaron Rodgers, he knows how to win close games against the Cowboys. So I'm going to take the Packers in this one on the over.
I'm taking the Cowgirls, and I'm taking the Cowgirls on the over. I think this defense is for real. Micah Parsons is a beast of a man. Everything that we've seen so far of this Cowboys team all rests on Dak Prescott. And in a big game like this, I don't know what the Green Bay Packers are. I love Aaron Rodgers. I love what he could do on the field, but they don't have any weapons offensively. They have a good running game in Dillon Jones. He hasn't used them. When they fall behind, they start to contend throwing the ball out in the open, and that's where he gets into trouble because he doesn't have anybody that can catch the ball. I'm taking the Cowboys on the over.
Monday Night Football, the Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles, the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. 43.5 is the over-under. I think the Eagles stay undefeated. This is a very close line. I think the Washington defense has been improved enough where they can keep them in the game for a while. The Eagles are a very strong first-half starting team. They'll be the opposite in this game. I think Washington will be able to contain them in the first half. The Eagles will get it going late. I like the rushing yards for Jalen Hurts. I like the matchup for Dallas Goedert over the middle of the field against a weaker linebacker and safety corps. And Philly's defense, I think, will be able to stop Antonio Gibson, which if you do that, we haven't seen the Washington offense be able to be that good. So I'm going to take the Eagles. This is a very close line. I'm going to go under, though.
I've got Philly, too. I don't know what's going on with Washington. I do like Heineke. He has a good connection with McLaurin. I expect McLaurin to have somewhat of a decent game, but I think Philly's the better team, and they're the faster team, and they have the most talent. Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate. I have Philadelphia on the under as well.
Sunday Night Football, the LA Chargers at the San Francisco 49ers, 45.5. I think this is the 49ers. I think this is a blowout. I think this is a very tough matchup for the Chargers, who might not have Khalil Mack this week, still don't have Joey Bosa. The injury to J.C. Jackson is going to make it hard against that receiving core, which likely will get Deebo Samuel back. And the Chargers just allowed 200 rushing yards to the Falcons, who have a bunch of rookie running backs. Imagine what Christian McCaffrey and maybe Elijah Mitchell could do. Kyle Juszczyk, Deebo Samuel with that Kyle Shanahan scheme. So I think this is the 49ers. This is a blowout on the over.
I've got the 49ers in this game, too. I love Deebo Samuel. He's healthy. Now he has another guy that can take the pressure off Christian McCaffrey. Ayuk on the outside. They have a tremendous amount of weapons, even on the inside with Kittle. I love this team. Defensively, they're beastly. I think they could do everything. Am I a Jimmy Garoppolo fan? No, I'm not. But with all these weapons, even Jimmy can't screw this up. I have the 49ers on the over. And I don't think this is a blowout. Justin Herbert, he will stay in this game because of his talent. And I don't think this Chargers defense is that bad.